In this video, I'm going to be talking about my patent pending private money strategy that I like to call the SLOW BRRRR method. It takes components from the BRRRR method and adds an element of private financing and private money lending and combines these two things into a very powerful real estate investing strategy that I'm using to grow my portfolio faster than I was before. It allows me to partner with a private money lender, pay them a very good return on their money, and also cash flow a rental property for a certain amount of time before I'm required to do a traditional cash out refinance. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining all of the ins and outs of the SLOW BRRRR method. If you have any questions, leave them for me down in the comments below or send me an Instagram DM at Millennial Mike because I'm happy to explain this strategy to anybody who wants to try to use it. I've used it on 2 different properties and many people are lining up in my inbox asking if they can partner with me on my next deal. So let's jump right in and get started. Now, I haven't heard anybody else talk about this method before, but I wanted to come up with some creative way to partner with people and make it beneficial to them and beneficial to me. So let's talk about some of the benefits. Right off the bat, when you partner with this strategy, you're not forming an LLC. You don't have to have some sort of charter agreement between you and them. What you're going to do is end up with a private mortgage between you and them. And for those of you out there who are interested in the legal documents that I used in this process, that I paid an attorney to draw up the legal mortgage, the private mortgage between me and the lender. If you want that information, then I'm going to have you guys send me an email and we will go ahead and get that private document out to you. So if you want that, it's going to be a free document that costs me $500. I'll provide it to you. I just need you guys to go ahead and send me an email. I'll put that information in the description below. So look for it there. So I'm going to use real numbers from a property that I've actually done a deal on. I'm going to take my duplex, for example. The duplex that I'm working on right now. Now, this duplex was $20,000 as the purchase price. You need to be finding a deal that's significantly under market value. I'm going to then pay for that myself with my own cash. I pay $20,000 out of my own pocket to buy the deal. I now own the deal. It's in my name 100%. But I want my $20,000 back. I also know that I need to make some repairs on this property. Remember, BRRRR strategy, you've got to repair the property. So I bought it. Now I'm repairing it. Now how much money am I going to need to repair the property? Now for this duplex, probably another $20,000. So I'm going to be all in $40,000 of my own money. But I want my money so I can go find more deals. This is where the private lender comes in. I go to the private lender and I say, I'm buying a duplex for $20,000. It needs about $20,000 worth of work. The actual value of this property when it's done being repaired is going to be between $150,000 and $200,000. Now, the actual value of it day one without the repairs is about $50,000 to $60,000. I'm just good at finding below market deals through wholesalers. If you want more information on this deal, I'll put a link to that video in the description below. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to buy the property super cheap with my own money. I'm going to repair the property with my own money. This is a great selling point to the private lenders, by the way. You can say, I'm going to do this deal with or without you. It's that good. But if you want to partner with me, here's what I need from you. I go to the private money lender and I say, you know what? I want, for easy math, $50,000 lent on this property. I want you to give me a mortgage for $50,000 on this property. Then I'm going to use that $50,000 to pay myself back for buying it and to repair the property. And maybe some other operating costs or some other improvements or upgrades. I've got $50,000 now allocated for this property. I got all of my money back and now I have money for repairs. Then I'm going to tell them I'm going to pay you 10% on your money. Now 10% is double what a treasury bond is, double what a CD is, and probably 10 times the amount that a savings account at your average bank is. I know there's some online banks giving better savings rates, but Chase Bank, US Bank, 1% if you're lucky. So you're going to offer them a 10% return on the money. Hey, you're going to give me $50,000 and every year I'm going to pay you $5,000. That's 10% interest on your money. But I'm going to break that down into monthly payments. So $5,000 a year divided by 12 is like $416 a month. So you're going to make monthly payments from the cash flow generated from your rental property, monthly payments of $416 a month. They're going to get addicted to that little drip of cash flow as they get that check in the mail every single month. And they're going to start to feel the effects of true passive income. They're actually a passive investor in your deal. So they make 10% on their money. They get a monthly check and you don't have to worry about paying principal and interest like you would with a traditional loan. So with a traditional financing with a BRRRR strategy, you buy it, you repair it, you rent it out, and then you refinance into a traditional mortgage. Well, the regular BRRRR strategy doesn't work as well right now because when you pay principal and interest on the loan, that monthly payment is so large, it becomes difficult to cash flow the property. But if you pay interest only, even though it's 10% interest only, it's still easier to make that interest only payment in cash flow. But now what we want to do is we want to set a term on the money that's beneficial to me, but also fair to the private investor. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set it at a 5-year term. So between now and the next 5 years, I need to find an opportunity to do a cash out refinance. Now, over the next 5 years, I should have rental appreciation. I should have some property appreciation. And especially if I am doing the BRRRR strategy, I should be forcing significant property appreciation. This does two things. Number one, it makes it easier for me to do the cash out refinance and give them their money back. If I hit that $150,000 amount that I'm looking for at the after repair value, but I only borrowed $50,000, well, that's 1/3 of the anticipated after repair value. It's very easy for me to get that after repair value number wrong. Maybe it was only 120 or even 100, but I'm still double what I actually borrowed. So it's easy for me to cash out refinance and get that money and then pay them back without any major issues. Very easy for me to do the cash out on the back end. The second thing that it really helps me do with a 5-year term is it gives me enough time, unlike the regular BRRRR strategy where you may have very expensive hard money involved and you need to do your cash out refinance quicker because you're losing money with hard money. It gives me enough time to sit there and wait for a better opportunity to cash out refi. And again, that could come from appreciation, forced appreciation, and rental appreciation, that even if the rates are still high and prices are still high, I can hopefully cash flow at that 5-year mark where maybe I couldn't cash flow at just the 6-month mark. But we're gonna add another layer and an extra component of safety for you, the investor. Well, not the lender, but you as the guy who's actually buying and owning and operating the properties. I put an option to extend for additional 3 years. So I look at this and I say, I believe the after repair value will be between 150 and 200. But let's say at year 4.5, the market crashes, values fall like they did in 2008, and oh no, it's no longer worth 150, it's only worth 120. I don't want to have to be forced to conduct the cash out refinance at a time that's disadvantageous to me. So I put in a clause into the document that you can get if you sign up at the email address link that I'm going to put below. I put a clause in there that says, if the property doesn't appraise for a minimum of $150,000, then I get the option to extend an additional 3 years. Continue to pay 10% interest a year. I just extend our existing contract for up to 3 more years. That protects me from being forced to do a refinance at the wrong time. And it allows me to make sure that the investor is still protected because they'll still keep getting paid. They just won't get all of their principal back. Now, truthfully, my end goal is to never give them their money back. And the way that I'm going to do that is 5 or 8 years from now, I'm going to come to them and say, it's been pretty nice making 10%, hasn't it? At this point, rents should have gone up astronomically. 8 years down the road. It's pretty nice making 10% on your money. What if I gave you 12%? What if we gave you 14%? And maybe my $5,000 a year is now $7,000 a year. And my $415 a month is now $515 a month. But if you did this on a duplex that was already cash flowing beautifully, that duplex was bringing in about $2,000 a month in rent day one with a $416 rental payment. 8 years from now, that duplex is probably bringing in $2,700, $2,800 a month in rent. What do I care if I pay him an extra $100 out of my extra $600 of cash flow? I come back and say, what if I pay you 13 or 14% on your money? You want to leave your money with me? Odds are they're probably going to say, yeah, it's going to be tough for me to find something I can make 14% on my money on as quickly as just saying, yeah, I'll sign another 5 years or another 8 years. Wonderful. Now, here's another thing I want you to do to protect yourself. I also want you to make sure that you put in, and I have included in my contract that you guys will see, a no prepayment penalty clause. Because guess what? What if a crash happens, but what if an interest rate crash happens? What if 6 months after I do this private money lending deal, all of a sudden the economy tanks, but values of property still stay high, but interest rates drop to fight the falling economy, drop from 8% to 3% again? What if we get 3% interest rates again? I would be a fool not to take advantage of that. So what I do is I say there is a no prepayment penalty clause that says I can conduct my cash out refinance at any time. And of course, when I do, you get all of your money back and you get your 10% up until the point where I conduct the prepayment penalty clause. And you could sweeten that deal for the lender and say, and let's say if I cash out early, I owe you an extra $1,000 or an extra $2,500 or something. Just as a little extra sweetening the deal for them so that they feel like they're getting their money's worth. But on top of that, I would still come back to them and say, look, if I do a cash out refinance early, I'm just going to take our private money structure and just try to reapply it to a new property. I'm going to go buy another property like this and reinvest your money if you want, unless you want it back. So there is a no prepayment penalty, so you can cash out if interest rates are advantageous. And there is an option to extend for an extra 3 years if for whatever reason it's disadvantageous to cash out at the 5-year mark. This gives you a very big window with which to actually conduct the BRRRR strategy within. That's why I call it the slow BRRRR method. It allows you to cash flow the entire time because you're not paying principal and interest. You're just doing interest only. Now, obviously, you need to make sure that you run the strategy and the numbers on it for your specific deal. Maybe on more expensive properties, you can't take as big of a loan. Maybe you have to leave some of your money in. For instance, with the triplex that I did this deal on, I used $60,000 of my money to buy it, and then took a loan for $60,000. But I then used my own money to fund the repairs. So I still put in some of my own money. I put in $30,000 of my own money. But $30,000 is better than $90,000 for the 60 plus the 30 for the overall cost. So I was able to use less of my own money, keep it in my pocket, and save it for the duplex that I did the deal on next. So this is a great strategy that you can use. Now, how does it officially work in terms of the title and everything like that? What happens is you work with a title company to set up the private mortgage. You take the contract that I have, you plug in the numbers for whatever you're borrowing, whatever the address is for your property, and you're going to take that contract, you're going to go to a title company who may need to make some adjustments in your local jurisdiction, might be a little different than mine, but it's better to have them adjust an existing contract than write one from scratch. It's much less expensive to have them adjust an existing than write one from scratch. They're going to make whatever adjustments they need. They will file that with the county as an official private mortgage or lien between you and the private lender. And then what's going to happen is you're going to pay your private lender. I use Zelle. I also use Venmo. And I like those because they create electronic transfer records that I can show a judge or a court or anything saying, no, I'm paying this individual as we talked about on the date that we talked about for the term that we talked about. Here's the electronic transfer record showing that I'm paying them. And in the little memo, it says for this property 123 Main Street. So you could pay cash. I really don't like that idea because unless you're doing full receipts and everything like that, I think it's easier to have an electronic transfer record, but that's up to you. Every month, I hop on Zelle, I pay 2 or 3 days early, I send them a little love letter that says, aren't you glad you invested with me? Here's your money 4 days ahead of schedule. Again, for the 10th month in a row. You're welcome, Crystal, you know who you are. Or Arthur, or whoever it might be. This strategy so far has worked really well. It's allowing the private money lender, who maybe earlier in Crystal's case was a hard money lender, and she was lending her money out at 12%. But the problem was that she would lend it out for 6 months, and then she would get it back for 5 months, and then she'd try to lend it out for another 4 or 5 months, but then it would come back. And sure, she was getting 12%, but because there were certain months where it was making 0%, the overall average of her return was significantly below 12%. So I said, what if I just pay you 10% consistently across the board, long-term, 5 years, we lock it in, as I talked about earlier, would that be something you're interested in? She said, absolutely. And now she's addicted to the paycheck and she's addicted to the cash flow, and I'm happy to provide it for her. That's what I want you to be able to provide for your private money lenders. Now, last point that I'll give you right here. Make sure you're attending your local real estate meetups. There's a lot of people with money who want to invest, but maybe they're afraid or they don't know the market, and they may want to invest with you, and this is a great strategy. The final thing that's an extra layer of protection for the private money lender that you want to keep in mind, they shouldn't be lending 100% LTV or even an extremely high LTV. Like a bank will do 80% or 75% LTV. If the after repair value of my duplex was $150,000, it's not smart for the private money lender to lend me $150,000, because if I default, which I never would, but if I did, if I got killed or, became a bad guy or something, if I default, well then when they take the property back, because guess what? They're now the one who owns the mortgage on it. If I don't pay, they get the property. They go to the title company. He's not paying. The title company puts him in contract with a lawyer. Foreclosure process on me is much easier because I don't live there. I don't have homesteading rights. They get the property back in just a couple of weeks. You could even pre-sell sign a quitclaim deed in the event of not paying for it to automatically deed back over to them if that helps put their concerns to rest. What they do is they're going to then take the property and sell it. Well, if they lent 150 and it sells for 150, some of that value is going to get consumed in the transaction process, so they would lose money. So it's smart for them to not lend more than like a 50 or 60% LTV. Most of the people lending money to me are doing it at like a 30% LTV, and the reason is because I'm so good at buying the properties. If I'm buying a property for 20 and putting 20 into it, I'm all in for 40 and it's going to be worth 150 to 200. Well, it's very easy for them to be protected if they had to take that property back from me, because they'll sell it and they'll have way more money than they actually lent to me. The best thing that could happen for them is for me to not pay and them take the property and then sell it. That would be the biggest return for them. So even if I screw up and become a deadbeat, they're still doing just fine. Guys, hopefully this strategy made sense. Hopefully the numbers made sense and you understand how I'm making this work. The people I've done it with so far really like it. I've had more people reach out to me and say that they're interested in it. And if you're interested in doing this private money strategy with me, please send me a message. Let me know, because I'm happy to take on more partners. It allows me to buy more real estate and grow quicker, accumulate more cash flow for myself, create equity in the properties that I'm building, and then pay out an extremely fair return, a competitive return to the private money lenders out there. In this scenario, everybody wins. The only thing that's tough for the private money lender, and this comes with any type of real estate, is once you put your money in it, you don't get it back for those 5 to potentially 8 years. Real estate's not liquid. Like with any investment, you shouldn't invest unless you're sure, hey, I'm good with that $50,000 disappearing for a while. I'm going to get my cash flow. It's going to come back to me. But it's not like a bank savings account or even a CD where you can just go back and say, oh, shoot, I need the money. I'll pay the penalty on the CD, or give me my savings account money. Obviously, liquid cash has benefits over something that's stuck in real estate. But again, the benefit with being stuck in real estate with your boy Mike is that you're going to get paid way more than you would with your liquid cash. Appreciate you guys as always for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful. I'll see you guys down in the comments, and hey, we'll catch you next time.